Hello. Today I am going to talk about Proposal 3, specifically what it was, why I couldn't stop it, and why that's a good thing. So yeah, let's just start with some background. So currently, as I say this, the MetaDAO's native token Meta has no spot market. You can't, for example, go on Jupiter and buy Meta tokens. And the reason why that's the case is because when I created the MetaDAO, I wanted to push everyone through futarchic. I wanted to have them trade in the futarchic markets if they wanted to buy any Meta. And while that was potentially good, I talked to Robin Hanson, who's the inventor of futarchic, and he thought that it was silly that we didn't have spot markets. And that spot markets would greatly help futarchic because they would allow people to properly price proposals, since they would only have to price the value that a proposal added or destroyed rather than pricing the DAO as a whole. And so someone else, RAR3, or Stay RAR3, who's a member of the DAO, created a proposal to raise $75,000 and to use 35,000 of those, of that money, in order to create a liquidity pool such that there was a spot market in Meta. And I like this proposal. Specifically, I guesstimated that it would increase the MetaDAO's probability of success between 5 to 15%. It was a good proposal. It wouldn't be like total game changer, but it was a very good proposal. And the thing was, when I looked at the market was saying something different. The market was saying, this is the best proposal ever. The market was saying specifically that the Meta token would be worth almost $25 if this proposal passed, and only $11 to $12 if this proposal failed. And so in markets in general, it doesn't matter how valuable an asset is. All that matters is how valuable it is relative to its price. So you can make a lot of money by buying dying companies as long as you get them for a cheaper price than they're worth. And you can also lose a lot of money betting on very good, growing, profitable companies by buying them for a higher price than they're worth. And so, yeah, markets are just about prices. And I believed that the market was wrong in this situation, and so I bought in the fail market, and I sold in the pass market in order to get those better prices. And so now I traded a bunch in these markets, and I ended up with a bunch of fail Meta. You can see I have 191 fail Meta on top of my regular 82 Meta. And since I've scooped up these fail Meta, what I deem to be very cheap prices, I now want this proposal to fail so that I can lock in that fail Meta for regular canonical Meta. And so since I now want it to fail, I got to thinking about how I could make it fail. And I think what you'll find, these tactics are pretty interesting because they will go to show that it's actually harder to manipulate futarchic markets and just markets in general than you might think. So the first thing that I could have done is the most obvious thing, which is I could have bought a bunch in the fail market and sold a bunch in the pass market. In fact, I could have bought in the fail market and sold in the pass market until the pass price was lower than the fail price, even though this was a good proposal. And so yeah, this is probably what most people think of when they think of market manipulation. And the problem with it is that in markets, prices tend towards equilibrium. Obviously, it's not perfect. Markets aren't perfectly efficient, but they do tend towards equilibrium price in practice. And the reason for that is because when I push a price away from fair value, so for example, if I am willing to sell a past meta for very cheap in the past market, that creates an opportunity for someone else to buy because they're buying something for cheaper than what it's worth. And it's the same in reverse. If I am buying something for more than it's worth, it's in their incentive to sell. And so this is actually what we see in markets. All these names at the bottom are statistical arbitrage firms that do this in order to make money, where they actively look for people who move the market, some intentionally and some unintentionally, and trade against them because it is in their interest to do so. And so in mature markets, markets get corrected within milliseconds, at least from these kinds of vectors. And you can also see this like in the silver market in the late 1970s. The Hunt brothers tried to corner the market, and in the short term, it worked. They were able to push up the price of silver. But what ended up happening is if you push up the price of silver, that creates an incentive for people to sell silver. And so people gathered up silverware from their homes and melted down coins. And what the effect of this is they added more supply to the market, and the price of silver eventually ended up right where it had been before. And the Hunt brothers ended up losing a lot of money on that trade. So this second thing I could have done is to launch a smear campaign. I could have, for example, said, oh, this proposal is really bad. Or I could have even said, this proposal has a bug in it, where if it passes, it's going to drain all of the DAO's funds. And in the short term, that probably would have had a similar impact, where it would have moved the prices. But in the long term, I think you can understand what the problem with this would be, is that you would lose, I would lose credibility. So it would be harder for me to get the market to respond in the future, kind of like Boy Who Cried Wolf. And it would also probably restrict, the market would trust me less, and so it would restrict me from doing things for the DAO that could allow me to earn meta. And so it wouldn't be rational for me to do this either. The third option, which I think is the best, and I'm interested to see how the DAO deals with this, is negotiation. I could have said, no matter what this proposal, whether or not it's bad or good, I'm going to leave the DAO if this proposal passes. And so if the value that I provide to the DAO is greater than the value that the proposal provides to the DAO, then this proposal should fail, at least in theory. And even this, I said this is the best option, but even this has problems. So just like how the Western governments decided to say that we do not negotiate with terrorists because if they did negotiate with terrorists, it would likely lead to much more hostage scenarios. The DAO, the market, could decide that we can't allow this because this would prevent us from doing things that are good for the DAO. We can't allow contributors to arbitrarily manipulate markets by threatening to leave as a general principle. And you can say that this is like an abstract notion that isn't actually applicable here, but we've already seen this in practice. So you can see on the right, Joe, who's a contributor to the MetaDAO, he is talking about selling in the past market, and the reason why is because it actually doesn't have to do with the proposal, it has to do with the way that the proposal was raised. He doesn't think that it got enough feedback or discussion before getting proposed. And so basically he's saying that the DAO, as a general principle, will be worth less if it doesn't use these processes. And if it passes proposals that doesn't go through this process. And so we've already seen traders taking this into account. when making their trading decisions. And so basically, all that is to say that markets are probably harder to manipulate than you might think, which is why futarchy is kind of cool. And so yeah, this is the MetaDAO's handle, and I hope you learned something.